Welcome to Affiliated Physicians Remote Training for On-Site Biometric Screening Clinics. Thank you for reviewing this training document. We hope to give you a comprehensive view of what to expect and what is expected of you as an Affiliated Physicians healthcare provider. Affiliated Physicians is headquartered in New York City, but performs biometric screenings all around the country. Why biometric screenings? These screenings promote a healthy workforce, leading to increased employee satisfaction and retention, which in turn reduces healthcare costs and increases profitability. Often, there are incentives associated with participation, such as additional vacation time, cash, or lowered healthcare premiums, or subsidized gym memberships. Ultimately, our goal in conducting these screenings is to enable people to know their numbers and understand risk factors for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension. Once a program is scheduled, we set up an online registration so that participants can schedule an appointment for the day of the event. Affiliated usually sends in a program manager to oversee the program and hires local nurses and CMAs to actually conduct the screenings. Upon completion of the program, we send the company a compilation of the data collected at the event so they can gauge the overall health of their workforce and tailor wellness programs to their population. Generally speaking, a full screening event entails a fingerstick blood test for analyzing lipids and glucose, height and weight measurement, which allows us to calculate BMI, a blood pressure reading, and a brief counseling session, which is essentially a review of the results. In most instances, you will be asked to conduct a complete screening from fingerstick through to counseling. You can click on the links in the slide for more detailed information. The CardioCheck analyzer takes about 2 minutes to process. During this time, you'll take blood pressure, then weigh and take measurements. Once all results are recorded, counseling can commence. Sometimes, in order to speed the flow of patients through the screening process, we will have dedicated nurse counselors. The program manager will make this determination. Affiliated physicians will have a program manager or lead nurse on staff to handle anything that is out of the ordinary or any unforeseen situation which may disrupt patient flow. Treat this person as your on-site go-to should questions or issues arise. Our reputation is that we provide professional and courteous staff who run an efficient and on-time clinic. Sometimes patients are anxious because the screening has a real financial consequence to them personally, or because the screening takes them away from work commitments. Keeping wait times to a minimum is our #1 priority. Arriving an hour ahead of the program start will allow you time to get set up and acclimated and to start the program on time. Make sure your fingersticking skills are up to par. If you feel you need a refresher, ask for training equipment ahead of the event. While we want to be friendly and pleasant, too much talking can cause a backup in patient flow. Lastly, counseling is meant to be a high-level overview of results. In-range results should be complimented, out-of-range results should be explained briefly, along with encouragement to seek out a primary care physician, and dangerously out-of-range results should be referred to the program manager or lead nurse for implementation of the emergency protocol. Greet your patients with a smile and do what you can to put them at ease. Explain what you are about to do at each step of the way. We often work in small spaces, so be mindful of maintaining patient privacy. Just as with most other jobs, it's not okay to use your cell phone while working. You should always look available to help or to see the next patient if you're not already seeing someone at your station. Lastly, if a problem or issue arises, escalate it to your program manager, maintaining discretion, of course. You should be dressed in business casual clothing with tattoos and piercings covered. Neither scrubs nor Crocs are acceptable. As a mindful healthcare professional at an event promoting wellness, you should avoid heavy or excessive perfumes and avoid smoking prior to or during the clinic. Do not use your phone during the event and avoid excessive chatting with other clinicians. Most important, though, is maintaining patient privacy, which means speaking in a low voice and pointing to results rather than speaking them aloud. If you have an inadequate sample or are having trouble getting a sample, call on your program manager for assistance. Take care in your documenting results accurately and on both the consent and the patient takeaway. Here, we'll cover what you should expect from an administrative standpoint. Your participation starts before you leave home. You'll have received the event arrival time and location information from us well in advance of the program, so map your route and allow plenty of time to get there. We stress here that the beginning of a successful program is having the entire staff on site and setting up 1 hour prior to the event starting. We'll provide you with a disposable lab coat to wear over your clothes. Please dress for a business environment. Scrubs and Crocs are not acceptable attire. Everything you need will be at the site upon your arrival. Each nurse will set up his or her own station according to the program manager's instructions. Once your station is set up, you need to perform the optics check on the analyzer. Set up your station for maximum efficiency. The cardio check machine and sharps container should be between you and the patient, with the patient seated across from you or on the side of your dominant hand. You can keep blood pressure supplies on your non-dominant side. Open up your gloves, gauze, and some Band-Aids. Lay out alcohol swabs, lancets, and capillary tubes for easy access. At the start of the program, patients will sign in at the registration table, filling out a consent form if necessary. They will be directed to the next available screening station. If your program has dedicated counselors, once you are done screening, you will hand the patient both the consent and takeaway form, then direct them to the counseling area. Upon completion of counseling, the patient will leave with the takeaway form. Whoever is responsible for counseling will retain the consent form for return to affiliated physicians after completion of the event. This is what an ideal screening setup taking place in one room might look like. This is a two-station model with two screeners feeding into a single counselor. Again, the program manager may reconfigure staff to a single-station model or to a one-to-one screener-to-counselor model. You should arrive at the program prepared to fill any role. While you may not be involved in checking in patients, it's still good to understand the flow and how to do the intake in case you're called upon to do so. For those who arrive with a scheduled appointment, check them off on the schedule, then have them sign in and complete their consent form. We'll cover what to do about walk-in patients in a moment. The consent form is composed of 3 sections: patient demographics, privacy and consent, and results. Make sure the patient completes the demographics section of the consent form and signs, as indicated in the middle section. Once the patient signs in, take note of the number on the sign-in sheet and transfer it to the consent form. The participant number is the number from the sign-in sheet. Now we'll cover clinician duties. As we mentioned earlier, be prepared to perform any and all of the various screening tasks. No matter your assignment, be pleasant and respectful, greet patients with a smile, and explain what you are about to do before you do it. The bottom section of the consent form is where you will record results. Please note, if an initial BP reading is high, repeat the test with a manual cuff. Height should be recorded in inches only, whole numbers to the left, fractions to the right. Record hours fasted if 8 or more. That means nothing but water, black tea, or black coffee. If fasting is less than 8 hours, record as 0. For lipids results, use the sticker that prints from the analyzer. If the printer fails, you may handwrite the results. To the far right is a section for any additional testing we may perform. Initial and date the sections for screening and counseling as appropriate. You can use the space under the waist measurement for any notes about the patient that may be pertinent, such as if they are aware of a health issue or under doctor's care. The patient takeaway has information on cardiovascular disease, diabetes, blood pressure, and BMI. Patients can read this at their leisure. The bottom right corner should be filled in by you prior to counseling and provides you with all the results in one place, so you can cover each value and what it means. Again, this conversation should only take about 3 minutes. At the end of the program, it's time to pack up and clean up. Prepare your CardioCheck analyzer for return shipment by removing the batteries and installing the optics cover. Remove batteries from the automatic VP cup as well. Take direction from the program manager on packing supplies back into the crates. Take care to keep all pieces and parts of the privacy screens together. Usually, we arrange for the supplies to be picked up by FedEx the day after the event, or the program manager may transport them. Again, take direction from your program manager. Once the equipment is packed away, return the room to its original state. The only things that are acceptable to leave behind are garbage bags, tied off and neatly placed in the corner of the room or in a trash can if available, and a copy of the sign-in sheet for the company's records. Everything else should be sent back to Affiliated for reuse or proper disposal. Make sure your paperwork is in order before handing it off to the program manager. Here we'll cover the CardioCheck in greater detail. You can also visit the PTS Diagnostics website or ask us to provide you with test equipment prior to your program if you're more comfortable with hands-on learning. The CardioCheck equipment is very easy to use. We will cover the highlights here. We'll offer a brief overview of the analyzer here. You can also go to the manufacturer's website for extensive and detailed overview of the CardioCheck Plus analyzer. The analyzer ships with the optics protector in place and with the batteries removed. At the end of the program, that's how you should ship it back to us. To set up, install the batteries and remove the optics protector. The gray strips are optics check strips. For proper insertion, hold the end with the 3 raised horizontal bars facing up. The black strip is the protective cover for the optics slot and should be in place when the analyzer is not in use. Click the link for a brief video about analyzer operation. Pressing the circle button. Turn the analyzer off by pressing both buttons at once, or it will shut down automatically if you leave it. Think of your buttons this way. The circle button is the enter button, and the arrow button is advance. Press the arrow button until you see the utility wrench, then press enter, the circle button. The display will say check strip. Insert the optic strip. The screen will display pass or fail. If pass, proceed to testing. If fail, the steps are: try a different check strip, clean the optics lens with an alcohol swab, swap out for a new machine, call your program manager over. Click on the link for a brief video on finger stick technique. Some tips. Keep the patient's hand low to increase blood flow. Keep the tube in contact with the sample. Avoid contact with the test strip. Hover the sample over the collection well. Wear gloves and change them between patients. Work with warm hands to get optimal blood flow. Work quickly for best sample collection. The results stickers go on the consent and the patient takeaway. Make sure to put all medical waste in the sharps container. In the event that you can't get a good sample, our policy is not to finger stick anyone more than twice. Refer the person to his or her personal doctor. The most common causes for lack of results are taking an inadequate sample or lotion being on the patient's hands. Station 2, heart and body measurements. This may be conducted in the same station as the finger stick or in a separate station. You'll be provided with a manual BP cuff in addition to the automatic cuff. Use the manual cuff in the event of a particularly high reading or if the auto cuff appears not to be working correctly. A scale will be provided as well as a tile to place under it, which provides stability. You'll have a height chart and a BMI chart at your disposal. Plug in and turn on your automatic BP cuff. Make sure the scale and height charts are placed in such a way that your patients won't be visible outside of the screening station. When taking blood pressure, the patient should be seated. Use the non-dominant arm. For any out-of-range results, take a second reading. When measuring height and weight, have the patient remove shoes, record readings on the consent and takeaway, and use the BMI chart to determine body mass index. Counseling is the final component of the screening. Your nurse folder will contain a script for you to consult. Highlights for counseling. Keep it short. We're not diagnosing or treating illness. Rather, this is a general health screening. Congratulate positive results and encourage follow-up with the doctor on results that are out of range. Keep your discussion to 3 minutes. Be mindful of privacy. Should you encounter a participant with dangerously high results, keep the employee calm and alert your program manager or lead nurse. Then refer to the ER protocol for next steps. Now we'll cover what to do in the event of an emergency issue. If an emergency arises, notify your program manager or lead nurse immediately. Work together with the patient to get the proper level of care for the situation, whether that means immediate physician referral or a trip to the ER. Most importantly, stay calm. Out-of-range values are provided in your nurse paperwork, but review them here so you have an idea of what our expectations and message are. Very rarely, you may have a patient whose glucose levels dictate immediate attention. Follow the protocol and advise your program manager of the situation. Key points and frequently asked questions. As a screener, the highlights for you to remember are: never stick a patient more than twice. If you can't get a good sample after 2 finger sticks, make note of it and record the patient as no results. Enlist the help of your program manager if necessary. As you take measurements, record the results on both the consent and the takeaway. Counseling should take no more than 3 minutes. In order to protect privacy, point to results rather than speaking them aloud. Remember, we're screening for risk factors, not making a diagnosis. In-range results should be congratulated, and those with out-of-range results should be referred to a primary care provider for further evaluation. If it's necessary to employ the emergency protocol, get the program manager involved. Any call to 911 should be reported to affiliated physicians as soon as is practical. Patients may ask questions you're not sure how to answer. If so, refer them to the program manager. The most frequent questions are covered here. Please program this phone number into your cell phone so you have it handy in case of emergency. This line is monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you don't get a live person, please leave a detailed message and we will call you back promptly.